center of divine activity, which actually we're always a center of divine activity. We're just not always conscious we're a center of divine activity. So I have been reading A New Design for Living by Ernest Holmes. It's one of my favorite Holmes books. And I like to start reading this when I forget about me being a center of activity. And I always know that I have forgotten this because I will start saying things like, well, when I can take care of this, then I will be happy. And when I fix this, then I will be happy. And so that's how I always know. I'm doing the when-then game, right? When I fix this, then I'll be happy. So that's the when-then. I was when-thenning. And you've probably done some version of this yourself. When I can get out from under all this paperwork, then I can take a breather. When I'm not so overwhelmed, then I'll meditate. When I get this stuff organized, then I'll feel better about myself. When I book 5 more clients, then I'll feel successful, right? When I develop a huge fan base, then I'll know I'm on the right path, right? When, then. But this implies that there's something out here that has to make us happy. That it's not from here, it's from out here. Which means we've just limited ourselves as source energy expressing in a body. Now in this book, and anything I share tonight, it's actually only out of chapter 11, right? This thing is just full of information. He says the universe in which we live is fundamentally a thing of consciousness. The universe is consciousness. It is a thing of volition and action. It's self-propelled, right? It doesn't need something to motivate it. It's always moving forward. It's always expressing itself. It is also law and order. Law and order. So it works through us, through our thoughts, through our perceptions. It's always working through us. We're just not always conscious of it. Now, source energy does not wait for us to get smarter or thinner or to make more money before it deems us as a worthy channel. We're the one that does that. We're the one that decides, I have to prepare, I have to do this, then I can do this. So we're the ones that limit the experience of the divine expression. We're limiting our experience of our divinity. We're source energy walking around in a body. We're not separate from source in any way. So all of the inspiration in the world, in the universe, in source, is available to us right now. All of the brilliant ideas are available to us right now. Life with a capital L, love with a capital L, that is all available to us right now. We don't need source energy to get to be bigger. We don't need it to be something that it's not. It's everything it can possibly be right now. Source will not get bigger. Source will not get brighter. Source will not get better. It is everything right now. And right now, we have access to that. All of that is as readily available right now as it ever will be. Right this minute. So there's nothing that it needs to become. It does not need to become anything before we can use it. We do not need to become anything before we use this energy. All we have to become, really, is aware. We have to become aware. So that's that one thing. But see, we're always evolving out of source. We're always shining forth from source. We're like a ray of light off the sun. We always are filled with all that light. It's always available to us. We just have to be aware of what we are, that we are that divine being in a body. So we are always a center of activity because that source is always moving forward through us. It's always creating through us. It's always expanding itself through us. It's always expressing itself through us. It's just we're not always doing it consciously. Sometimes we're doing it unconsciously. So it's important to think about this one thing. What I do today is important. Just say that to yourself. Say it out loud. What I do today is important. That's because everything we do today, we create a blueprint for tomorrow. So every activity that we did today, we've created a blueprint for tomorrow to behave in the same way. You've heard the term, as a man thinketh, so he is. This is about a habitual way of thinking and behaving. Because when we think a certain way, we behave a certain way, right? I know when I used to take my aunt out, she always felt like a victim, so she always behaved like a victim. And she would see all the salespeople as mean. And I was like, they were not mean, they were trying to help you. But it was her perception. As she thought, so she was. But you know what, we do this unconsciously, and somewhere in our childhood we have gotten some programming. As an example, how easy it is to get programmed. When I was 15 years old, my family moved to Idlewild, Pine Cove, actually. We moved there the week after Christmas, and it was cold, and there was a little bit of snow on the ground. I would wash my hands in the bathroom or the kitchen, and I would get blasted with such cold water that it would hurt my hands. That coldness hurt. So I learned very quickly to always use the hot water, because it wouldn't come on blasting hot right away. It would take a little while, but at least it wasn't frigid ice water. All these years later, and I noticed this just recently, I go to wash my hands and I flip on the hot water. All these years later, I have not lived in Idlewild since I was 20, and I am still turning on the hot water first. And it comes out hot. Here, in the afternoon, in the summertime, that is hot water that comes out of that faucet first thing. Because it's in my programming. I'm behaving due to programming. I hurt my hands, the cold water hurt my hands, so that programming just set in. Okay, but all kinds of behaviors are programmed into us that way. Suddenly. Could have been suddenly. So what we do today is important. We want to think about how we are creating our blueprint. So if we're creating a blueprint every day that tomorrow will build on this blueprint, and our activity will be based on this blueprint, you can kind of see what if or when I can have this, then I can be happy. You can see that as a blueprint would kind of suck, because we're basically creating a blueprint that's always saying our happiness is an event yet to come. It's not happening today. Right now I'll be happy, and then I will do this, right? We don't say it that way. Okay, so we're creating this divine blueprint, or this daily blueprint, right, for how our day is gonna go, based on what we did today. Ernest Holmes says there will never be more of God, more abundance, more health, more happiness than is available to us today. But our activity is not always reflecting that we believe that. Right? Now, right now, we have everything we need. It's all available to us. The divine ideas, the inspiration, the inspiration is what gives us new choices to change our blueprint. Like, I could change my habit of turning on the hot water first if I just put a yellow sticky on my mirror. Don't use the hot water. Eventually I could change that habit. But see, we're always source energy walking around in a body. We always have all this available to us right here and now. We just have to become aware. When we're aware and we're remembering that we're source energy, that we create as source creates, right? We create in our life as source creates in the universe. Then we can utilize that infinite supply that is readily available to us. It's like waiting right there for us to just reach out for it. But this can be challenging. right? Accepting this. This can be challenging, especially if we need healing from something like pain, right? Feeling a lot of physical pain, it contradicts our divine nature. It does, but it's still our experience. We have physical pain. That's what we're thinking about, right? What about if we're recovering from financial ruin? Trying to think about, okay, well, the universe has all this money for me, all this abundance, but my checking account is still overdrawn. Well, how do I have a positive thought about that? How do I create something new in my blueprint for tomorrow? Right? What if we need help mending a broken heart? Right? What if we felt betrayed and have difficult relationships? So we're thinking, well, yeah, there's all this supply, there's all this goodness coming to me now, but I still feel lonely. I still feel isolated. We do this thing where, like the financial example, we might try to fix our finances. We might try to cut back on our bills. We might try to change different things out here, right? For our health, we might try to change things out here too, right? By looking at our symptoms. Well, I'll just take more ibuprofen. I'll do some stretching. But see, inside we're still the same. Inside we're still creating off of that same blueprint. Ernest Holmes says one of the craziest things we do is we try to do something about it. Okay, whatever it is we're struggling with. And that's what our problem is we're looking at our life, we're looking at what's not working, and we're trying to reach out and fix something out here. But you've heard the phrase that life is a mirror, right? And Ernest Holmes actually said, life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. Now say that you look in your mirror. You go home and you look in your literal mirror. And you decide you want to do something different with your hair. Maybe part it over here instead of over here. Would you try to fix that in the mirror? Would you try to fix your hair in the mirror? If you were wearing a colored blouse and you look in the mirror, you're like, wow, that's not tonight. I'm not going to wear that. Would you try to get the image to change her blouse or his blouse, top, his shirt? You wouldn't try to get the image in the mirror to change. You would fix whatever it is on yourself, and then automatically the reflection changes. Now, our life is a reflection. Our life is a reflection of our thoughts and our beliefs and our habits. But when we look at where we're suffering, we're not consciously choosing that. We're not consciously choosing to have a hard life or to have financial difficulties or health issues. We're not consciously choosing it. But somewhere we have a mental tendency that supports that. Now, I was talking with Dr. Catherine. She's Dr. Gary's wife, right? She's also a chiropractor. And we were laughing because I said, yeah, when I threw my back out, all I did was bend over and tuck a sheet in. And she says, yeah, I have patients say that. I was just putting on my socks and I threw my back out. And then she said something that just blew me away. She says, it's never that you just put your socks on. It's cumulative. You've had years of a behavior that makes you vulnerable to that. But we don't always know it, right? I had no idea I was going to do what I did to my back. No idea. But it was cumulative. Might have taken 4 years to get there. Might have taken 10 years to get there. Might have been childbirth is the reason. I mean, we just don't know. So we have these mental tendencies, but we can't just fix the symptom of our mental tendency. We have to go inside. And when we start working on stuff in here, by having awareness that we're a center of divine activity, that's when we start changing things out here. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things that Ernest Holmes talks about on how to become a center of divine activity consciously. And this is really the main one. Claim your good. Claim your good. And he says something like this in the book. You have to know with total faith that abundance, love, healing, happiness, and all that good stuff is yours now. You have to know it now. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm really spiritual, and I've been reading this stuff a long time, and I practice. Then I thought, but my back still hurts, or my leg still hurts, or I still feel really tired, or I'm still blah, blah, blah. But I'm claiming it, I'm having faith, but it's not working. It's not working. Then what I had to realize was that this stuff is cumulative. Creating a divine pattern with our good stuff is cumulative, just like when I hurt my back, that was cumulative. But see, the crappy stuff that happens in our life, it's cumulative. It's taken a long time for us to create something crappy. It took a long time. Now, when we are creating a new pattern, it's also cumulative. I had the great experience of getting to know this wonderful woman who decided, just after I met her, that she was going to be a bodybuilder. She was going to be a bodybuilder. 6 months later, this woman was absolutely chiseled. I saw pictures of her on Facebook in a tiny bikini. Everything was carved. And she was in a contest. She was in a bodybuilding contest. Now, did she decide to become a bodybuilder and sign up for this event and then that morning say, okay, well, I'm a bodybuilder? She didn't. It was cumulative. She changed her diet. She started doing special exercises, and everything she did on Monday then helped support Tuesday. Tuesday was built on Monday, and then Wednesday was built on Tuesday. Thursday was built on Wednesday. And after 6 months, we saw a huge difference. Now, she could have just said, I'm going to be a bodybuilder and not done anything, and we would have seen the results of that too. We would have seen that demonstration. So, being a center of divine activity is cumulative. So if we want to create like better finances or better health, it might happen slowly. It might happen slowly. I was actually reading recently that about miracle healings, right? And I'm not saying there's no such thing as a miracle healing, but often when somebody experiences a miraculous healing, what's happened is that they established a new pattern of thought. When they got ill, they established a new pattern of thought, and they changed something. Well, that became a cumulative effect. Maybe they started meditating or changed their diet. And maybe they did this for 6 months or 8 months. And then one day they go get foot reflexology done. And then the next day they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you're not sick anymore. And they say, it was the foot reflexology. Because that's just the event they can pinpoint. But often, these miraculous healings are the result of a change in thinking. Change in thinking. So that healing was actually cumulative. Time is a necessary thing, is necessary for a thing to become expressed in a definite experience. Time is necessary. You wouldn't plant seeds in a garden and then go yell at your garden the next morning because nothing grew. You know a garden is going to take a certain amount of time. So we want to be a conscious center of activity. We want to create a new experience that is a happier experience. We start thinking about that right now, because where we are right now, we have access to everything we could need, and we start changing our blueprint for tomorrow. And we just change it a little bit. That's all we have to do. But we're establishing a new pattern right now. But some of this stuff can take so long, and we don't want to get frustrated, right? They're like, oh gosh, starting a diet is frustrating. I hate the first couple of days. It's like, it didn't do anything, right? Like where I am right now, finally it's like, okay, 1.75 pounds, that's what my diet did today, finally. But it didn't just happen this morning. I didn't just lose 1.75 pounds this morning. It took me 4 days. Cumulative. And you'll see in a few weeks if I got frustrated with it or not. You'll know, right? It'll show. So one thing we can do, while some of this stuff takes a certain amount of time, is we can find little things to be grateful for that are associated with it. Like when I hurt my back and I was in bed, like the first week I was just in bed and didn't move. And I just watched Netflix, I watched Amazon Prime, I read books. And I was like, I have to heal. I have no choice but to just watch shows I love and read books I've been wanting to read for a long time. So I was grateful for that. One of my friends who was in financial recovery, she did a 30-day no spending money on anything unnecessary. Like food, gas, paying bills, she would spend money on that, but she wouldn't go to Barnes & Noble, she wouldn't go do any kind of foo-foo shopping, right? And she said it was actually after 30 days that she felt really empowered. So I thought, well, that's pretty cool. But see, we don't want to get frustrated. We don't want to decide, well, but I can't be happy until my health is better, my money is better. So we focus on other things. Like if you planted a garden, you wouldn't sit in the garden all day waiting for something to happen. You would probably do some laundry, and maybe you would go watch something on Netflix, and maybe you would go run some errands. Maybe you would, I was going to say balance your checkbook. I don't know if people do that anymore now. Everything's online. I just go online. But you'd find other things to do. You wouldn't just sit in the garden and get frustrated with your waiting. Now this is really important for us. Okay, find other fun things to do. When we're doing new fun activities, that raises our physical vibration, not just our mental, spiritual vibration. New fun physical activities raise our physical vibration, and a natural byproduct of that is raising our emotional and our spiritual vibration. Where if we just raise our spiritual vibration by feeling really happy, like meditating, we don't bring that into our physical body until we go do something new, right? So doing a new activity, doing something fun, raises our vibration. Ernest Holmes talks about using our yesterdays properly, because we all know what it's like to dwell on a past memory that didn't work out for us, right? A past experience. Now, when we're dwelling on past experiences, we are limiting ourselves because we are either looking at an experience where we were harmed and thinking, oh, if that had never happened, or, I'll never recover, this is so hard. That's limiting us. Or we might be looking at a past experience and thinking, like my stepdad used to say, my first house, I only had to pay $1,500 for. And I had to listen to this about everything. I used to pay 3 cents for a brick of cheese. I mean, everything. Right? It's like, Dad, I'll buy you some cheese. Okay? When we're dwelling on when we're dwelling on the past that way, we're seeing all this now is wrong. Houses shouldn't be so expensive. Cheese shouldn't be so expensive. It's wrong. That limits us. However, we can use looking into our past to empower us. Now, if we can go into our past and find a memory where we're really happy, that actually empowers us, right? And helps lift our vibration. Now, Carolyn Mace, she is a profound energy healer. I mean, her knowledge of the energy system is profound. She talks about the past and units of energy. If you focus on a past memory that's really happy, it supports your current energy now. If you focus on a past experience that's very tragic for you, you've sent your own energy back in time to that event. Now, if you keep doing that with your energy, you don't have enough energy here to run your physical body. Okay, so you become disempowered. So our past either serves us or it disempowers us. We can look at the past also and think about, well, this is what I would do differently now. So maybe we learned something. And if we can just say, I learned something and I'm not going to dwell on it, then we're doing pretty good. But remember, we're a center for divine activity. Everything we need is available to us right now. It's not going to become more available. There's not going to become more of it. It's all available right here and now. It's just about us building our awareness. We can go out into a garden. We can create a garden, or we can let it go to weed. And things can be changed. Our thoughts can be changed. I spent 3 years looking at a backyard that was nothing but weeds, horrible weeds. And I would look at it, I'd be holding my coffee, and I was like, man, if I had a nice yard, I'd be sitting out here drinking my coffee right now. And then I'd turn around and go back into my house. I didn't do anything about it. My husband's finally the one who totally made the yard amazing. So he changed it, changed the blueprint for that yard. I'm going to read something by Ernest Holmes here. This is very powerful. He's talking about like positive thinking and wanting good things in our life. And he's talking about believing that you have what it is that you want, even if its appearance is not here yet. This is what he says. This does not mean that every moment of our lives will be filled with complete happiness, with everything that the heart can desire. However, we should learn to take from each moment only the joy, the lesson, the good that is in it. If we take only the bad, it's out of this bad that the next moment is born. Life is often filled with undesirable situations and conditions, and it can become a bed of roses only when we are willing to pick the thorns out of our flesh and throw them away. So there may be something in your life right now that is not a bed of roses. There might be something that needs improvement. It just might be. But remember, right now, you cannot become more source energy. You cannot become more source energy. You are source energy in a body, as much as can be. You cannot have more available to you right now. But right now, you are creating a blueprint for tomorrow. You are creating something. So I have a little call to action for us. Tia, can I ask you to take my cute, adorable little pink unicorn bag?
Yes.
And walk around and give everybody a couple of those index cards and then a pen if they need one. Okay, you're gonna write something down. And, let's see, why not? I did this too. On the top of your little card, write this phrase. What I do today is important. What I do today is important. I've got one already, thank you. And then think about what you did do today. And I'm going to share a couple of things I did today to create my blueprint for tomorrow. This is what I did. By 11 o'clock this morning, I was in a tizzy. I got really frustrated over something. I was trying to help my son work out some financial aid stuff. I got in a tizzy, and then I did the next best thing. I got in the car to drive and run some errands. So I'm frustrated, and I get in the car. So the second thing I did was I mumbled curse words at a driver. That's what I did. So by then I realized what I'm doing. And so I asked for forgiveness for myself, right? Now, I didn't ask for anybody out there to forgive me. I'm like, I have to forgive myself for getting this worked up. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. The next thing I did was I asked for a holy instant. And the Course in Miracles talks about the holy instant as a moment that reestablishes perfect sanity, perfect peace, and perfect love. It is to exchange hell for heaven. And that's what I did in that moment. I got really peaceful. I accepted it. I was like, holy moly, this works. When you ask for it, it actually works. And then I was driving behind a car and this guy didn't know how to navigate a four-way stop. And I was like, I am not yelling at this guy. I'm not like, cursing. I'm zen. I was pretty zen. And so then I wrote down, I was kind today. In a moment when I could have been impatient, I joked with my daughter, and I organized this talk. And so out of 6 things I wrote down, there are 2 things I don't want tomorrow. There are 2 things I do not want on my divine blueprint for tomorrow. So again, right on top of your page, what I do today is important. Think about what you did today, and would you want to repeat it? Would you want to repeat it? Some of it I would, some of it I don't want to. Now, remember, this is creating a template for our tomorrow, because as a man thinketh, that thinking leads to behaviors. So we've got behaviors following around that thinking. Are you when-thenning? Are you did you do that today? When I can finally get this, then I can take a break, then I can be relaxed, then I can, be happy. Did you when-then today? Are you remembering that you're source energy in a body? Write that on the other side of your card. I am source energy in a body. You are it, man. You are the bomb. You are the creator in your life. And then if you want to, you can think about something that you do want, but that is strangely absent in your life right now. Something that you do want. So I thought, like for myself, I want financial independence. I want financial independence. I want to be able to take care of my husband, right? That guy, he's worked a long time at a hard job. I want to take care of him. And then write down a small way you could honor that you have faith that it's already in motion. Like right now, I'm like, I don't know how that financial independence is going to happen, but the small step I took was that my husband and I created a budget together to work on as a team to really keep track of where our money's going, because that makes me be responsible with money. And then that means I like working with money and I know how to handle money. And so I become a more attractive force for money, right? Being good with money, so it wants to come to me. Then also think of ways that you can have fun. Think of some other ways that you can have fun. I'll write music, I'll write songs, I'll write, words. I love to create like talks and programs. That is all really fun for me. Some people, like, they have to go garden, right? They have to get in that garden and let the dirt just pull all the frustration out of them, right? Volunteering at an animal shelter. I know somebody who goes and takes pictures of dogs and shares them with people. Okay? Right now you have everything you need. Everything you need is just waiting for you to consciously direct it. You will never be more source than you are right now. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any questions?
I'm not sure that all your questions I was writing when you were talking. Can you kind of go over what you want us to write?
What to write. On one side, write, what I do today is important. And then, like, I wrote 6 things I did. And 2 of these things are things I don't want to repeat tomorrow. And so I can sit this out. Now, when I get home, I'll sit this on my desk where I'll see it. I was like, I am not going into a tizzy today about something. I'm changing my pattern. Okay, so just write down, you can just write a few things that you did, things that worked, things that didn't. On the other side, I am source energy in a body. Source energy in a body. Okay?
Can you tell us again the name of the book you're reading and maybe some thoughts on the book?
It's A New Design for Living by Ernest Holmes. And, he talks a lot about thinking and changing the way we're thinking. It's a good reminder about how we are source energy. So it's very similar to his other work. And this I just happen to like this one. This is the first one I ever read by him where he actually says life may not always be rosy, and that's okay. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Okay. Thank you everyone. All right, we'll have Gilman give us another song now.